This is Josh, also known as Cpgeek, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of 3D printer work. Hopefully things are going good here as far as audio and video. I just setting up right now, so please bear with me. And in about 10 minutes or so, I'll start getting everything together. let's see here. Just getting this set up here. We'll see how things work out in a minute. All right, so we're gonna need that, and let's see, just preparing the rest of my tools here. All right, so that should be good enough for now. So I've got all kinds of problems with my Ender 3 3D printer, having all kinds of dimensional accuracy problems. And today I've got these replacement wheels here. They're just little bearing wheels, kind of like a skate truck. Come on, focus. There we go. And they spin like a fidget spinner, or at least they're supposed to, once the lube gets all in there and together. So we'll go ahead and replace the wheels that are in the bed on my 3D printer. Just taking a few out here real quick, making sure that the bearings are still good. Now, cheap bearing wheels from Amazon may not be completely stable. These are actually pretty free-flowing. They should get the job done. They're listed pretty specifically for 3D printing work, so I suspect that you know, I shouldn't have too much of a problem here. And everything should be good. Not sure exactly how many I'm going to replace. I think I have 10 of them here, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I actually looked at the page where I got them. Just making sure that these bearings are all set. and that there aren't any major problems. And switch on over to the table camera. Just laying these out here after testing them a little bit, making sure that they're warmed up and a little less sticky. Sorry about the somewhat lower quality. This is actually the NDI cam running on an iPhone. It's actually a little bit better than I thought it would be, but not quite up to the snuff of my my A cam. Things are probably going to be a little bit slower with this video, at least as far as the live stream goes, because I'm doing this all in real time, right along with you. I haven't really done anything to prepare other than order these wheels about a week and a half ago. They actually showed up a little bit faster than I was quoted. So 10 wheels. Got some basic tools off to the side here. Got my electric screwdriver, a couple of other screwdrivers, a wrench that I know will fit the eccentric nuts on the printer, and a few other odds and ends in this nut case there. Of course, the biggest nut case on this stream is me, but and of course the spatula. So, I guess let's go ahead and set these aside for now. Just sliding everything toward the back of the table for safekeeping, because the Ender 3 is kind of big. And I guess I'll get that unplugged and pulled over here. Alright. Unplug the Raspberry Pi that runs it. Unplug power. Should be the only two tethers, so I can go ahead and pick it up here from the top, from the bottom. And here we go. Creality Ender 3. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is clean off the bed here. Actually, I can show you what's wrong right off the bat. The wheels are currently unlocked because the printer is off. If I go ahead and move the bed forward, you'll notice it stops there before it continues. It's not a smooth transition. In fact, I'm going to grab the mic real quick. Mute it first so you don't get all problematic for headphone users. So bear with me one moment. All right, here I am, and listen to this on the bed here. Hear the thud as I'm pulling it. I don't know if it's coming through, but so the problem that's making that thud noise, if you could hear that, is basically the wheels on the bottom are all eaten away from being over tightened and then moved around and then pushed on and then spatulaed, at least as far as the top of the build plate is concerned. So we're just going to go ahead and replace those wheels. The first step in doing that is to get rid of this build plate here. We've got to go ahead and release that. I'll just go ahead and undo the leveling screws here from the bottom. Direction, the other way. There's one. Just set these up here for now. There's also springs between the heated bed and the middle plate here. I'll show you those in just a couple of seconds. Got to remove those as well. These are actually some nice injection molded versions of what I printed on my other 3D printer, which is a TiVo Tornado. Didn't come with a nice leveling knob, so I had to print those. These actually come with injection molded plastic leveling knobs. It's always good to see. And I 3D printed a stress relief back here. You can barely see that. Here, I'll get that into camera. Oop. That way. So yeah, there's a 3D printed stress relief here that's just got to be careful of here. It puts a little bit of extra pressure on those springs. Squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. Notice the bed is also lopsided because of the spring-loaded nature of the others, whereas these leveling knobs compress the springs. So this is the last one. We're just holding it down on the other side so it won't pop out. This table is wiggling around on me. There we go. And there's the last wheel. So I'm going to gently lift up on the build plate. The springs that I talked about will go ahead and pop themselves out. We'll just put the springs on top of the build plate for now so we can keep them safe. 3 springs. The 4th will actually be retained. Whoops. There I go. Losing everything on myself. Set that down for a quick second. Okay. 3 leveling knobs. 3 springs. Where did my 4th leveling knob get to? There it is. Alright, so I'll lift again. And I'm just going to push this through the gantry area because that's where all the wires go anyhow. And I'm going to set this behind the printer because that's where there's the most room. Alright, so there's that out of the way, and as you see there's the bed here, which is actually the thing that goes back and forth. You might be able to see when I move this how it's tough to move right in that section, and right here and right here. This is all supposed to be smooth, and when it gets hung up like that, it puts undue wear on the motors, the stepper motors that guide it back and forth here. So that's bad for the printer, and it's also really bad for dimensional accuracy because it's going to catch there, and then the print itself is going to be slightly skewed because it'll have to push more to get it going again. And it's the little wheels on the bottom here that we need to go ahead and swap out, as we'll find that they are quite a bit torn up. So just going to set the tablet aside here. This view is just fine. Now that the heated bed is behind the 3D printer, it's still attached via the cabling, but it shouldn't hinder us from flipping this whole thing over for a couple of seconds. So I'm going to flip it to the right here, just 90 degrees upright, right on the power supply. Get this stuff out of the way. Nice and gently. All right. So I'm just looking over here at the preview to see what this camera is actually picking up, because it's hard for me to tell what you guys are seeing. I was losing my window here. All right, so make big. Yes, there we go. All right, now, so I'm gonna pull this part all the way forward, and hopefully, yeah, there we go. So these are the wheels that we're trying to replace. These wheels right in here. They're tightened against this piece of extrusion with an eccentric nut on some of these wheels, right down inside here. Let me show you that more easily. Turn this a little bit. So there's these nuts that are on these portions on the bottom here, and that's basically what keeps these inwards. So I'll slide that back over here so I can take a look. And yeah, these are just way too tight. When I put this together the first time around, I didn't really know what I was doing in that respect. So fortunately, that's the way things are currently. Let's go ahead and pull out my screwdriver here. All right. I think I have a wider adapter. Do I have an adapter for these? Do I have a text driver for this? I do not. Okay, so we're going to do this the old-fashioned way, and I'm going to try to track down the... Actually, I can just do it with this. Or... this might do it too. Oh, a little too big. All right, so tool of choice. Try not to round things too much. No, that's just bad. Okay, time to find my little baggie of tools for the 3D printer. Tried to do that a little bit earlier, but I was somewhat unsuccessful. I had it just the other day, as you do with all tools that up and disappear on you. One moment, please bear with me. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and go AFK for a couple of seconds and try to track those down once again. I will be right back. And I just remembered where my screwdrivers are. I put them in a box. I put them in this box. More specifically, All right. There's some tools. Maybe even the right ones. Who knows? See you in a moment. All right, so this works for this. And does this work for that? Indeed it does. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and unbolt these completely for now. Alright, that's enough to undo them. Try to get these only finger tight in the end. So these are held on by a nut and come on. There's a washer. And a bolt. Nut, washer, eccentric nut, bolt, wheel. Now, interestingly enough, this particular wheel is perfectly fine. It's got a very smooth profile, and it's nice and smooth on both sides. Looks brand new. I don't see a problem. I am going to compare this perfectly good wheel with one of the new ones that I just purchased. They appear to be correct in every way that matters. And I'm just doing a materials test here, see if these rubber or plastic, and they are plastic. And you know what? I couldn't tell you the difference between these two. They look identical to me, which is only for the best. So I'm just going to set that aside for now. And I'm going to go ahead and undo the other bottom wheel here. Oh, looks like I can do it with just that one little wrench. So there's the nut, there's the washer, there's the eccentric nut, there's the bolts, and as you see here, this wheel is all eaten up right there. That is what is causing our failure to roll back and forth. It's coming off on my hands. The plastic is indented and chewed up and eaten away. And that is really not good. So that's the wheel that we're going to be replacing. Bring that back over here, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove this whole deal, bed and all. I have never done this with this particular printer. That means I'm going to have to untension and retension the belt somehow. Not quite certain how this mechanism is supposed to work. Maybe there's a belt tension on the other end? Or, maybe I don't have to after all. I'm just going to leave it attached and flip it down like this. Take the rest of these wheels off and then reassemble. You know what? I'm just giving a quick feel along the periphery of these wheels to see if they're chewed up like the others, and they don't appear to be. Feeling the underside now, just going around 360 here. Nope, perfectly fine. So it looks like I bought 10 wheels and only need to replace the one. And the inside of this one, yeah, alright. That's awesome. Well, I have a whole bunch of replacements anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and reinstall these two. And retension the plate to the bed, making sure that these wheels are installed and tightened. Yep, these are nice and tight. Shouldn't really ever have to remove these two wheels. They don't have the eccentric nuts. The eccentric nuts are the ones on the other side, which is why we were having some problems, because I managed to get them over tightened. So, all right, let's go ahead and do this back in reverse order. So, wheel, nut, eccentric nut. Now the eccentric nut, the small part of the eccentric nut that holds things to other things here is always going to go on the outside, because that's where the smaller holes are here. So we're going to go ahead and basically slip that on like that, so that the eccentric portion of the nut here aligns with the holes that are in the bed. And let's see, I'll go ahead and just feed this through. Start with the rear one first. Get the eccentric portion all lined up in that smaller hole. And make sure it's in the groove on the extrusion. I'll slide on the washer here and go finger tight with the nut. Don't want to go tight at all, because we need to tension the eccentric nut. So I'm just going to go finger tight so I can get that back off just by hand in a minute. Once again, wheel, nut, eccentric nut with the smaller portion on the outside. Feed it on through, so the smaller portion goes through the hole. And our washer, and the nut. Once again, just finger tight. Now these wheels are super loose. I'm just going to go ahead and switch cameras for a moment. I know it's not the camera that you want, but I don't want to make anyone sick by jostling the camera in an uneasy fashion. I'm just going to go ahead and pop off my camera here, bring this around. Just want to give you a closer look at what I've been talking about, just so you can see things a little clearer. Please bear with me with the shaky cam. Shaky cam, and 3, 2, 1. All right, so here's the two wheels installed, and very loose, just because I only put those on finger tight. And going around here, there's the eccentric nut between the wheel and the bed here. And coming around, we've got the nuts and the washers here that I just barely tightened on there, just so they stay. So I'll go ahead and switch back, mount this thing again, and give you a different picture here. And switch back. All right. Tighten those up just a little bit more, and then this guy will hold the eccentric nut I'm going to make an attempt to tension the eccentric nut with the wheels up against the extrusion up above it. There will be a time where it starts to tense up, and then we can snug it just a little bit. Come on, moving it just a little bit at a time. Oh, let go. There we go. This part takes a little finesse. Doesn't seem to be moving in for me. Getting closer. Maybe it's not in the groove enough. Oh, I see. I'm just spinning it. This part needs to be in here. And then I can gently maneuver it. That's working better. Just gotta find the right position. Doesn't appear to want to snug, but it does appear to be moving smoothly now. All right. Well, let's try the other one. It's so difficult to get movement out of it. Trying to see down between the pieces of metal here. Not quite tight enough. Oh, this one's spinning. There we go. That's nice and snug. Now this one. Just a little more. Yep. That is nice and snug. And now, beautiful. Nice and smooth. So you would think that the repair would be done there, but we got to put this thing back together and test it. So, now that we've got a nice smooth bed with smooth rolling wheels, and this outlier wheel that's all chewed up and not very nice, let's go ahead and flip her back over after we move some things around here. Don't want to drop anything. Set the tablet aside here and flip. Nice and easy. Alright, we're not on any wires or anything. Good, great. Cool. Push this forward just a tad. Just working those wheels, making sure things are nice and smooth. Make sure that the belt that I tried to remove is still snug with the rest of the unit here. Don't want that coming. Left and right, totally smooth. Back and forth. No wiggle at all. Oh. A little tiny bit of wiggle. A little bit of wiggle in this direction too. That means that these two wheels are tight to one another, but these two wheels are not tight enough because you can wiggle them back and forth here. So what that means is I need to flip this thing back over again and give this another shot. No, before anyone asks, the power supply is not supposed to wiggle around like that. Unfortunately, I can only hold it down with one screw here, and even that's kind of worn. The power supply body, the way that the screws are held in is they just tapped the aluminum on the power supply body, and unfortunately those strip out really, really easily. I will probably be moving this down to the bottom section. There's a nice 3D printed part that I found that lays the power supply flat. So that'll be a nice upgrade a little later. I may do a stream about that as well. Not quite sure. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and flip this back. Really want to get that up. There we go. Alright, so I was able to slide that belt over, which should lead to much straighter operation. Yeah, that's now all over the place. Okay, so let's flip her on over. Hold that power supply, make sure it doesn't flip out too much. Okay. And so let's grab this and this and there it is. So verify. It's definitely the back screw that's acting up here. So let's get that loose so we can move the eccentric nut. Crack that just a bit. Okay, that's open, and we'll hold this bolt here So we can get in with this and snug it up. Okay. Moved a little bit. Oh yeah, it's going nowhere. Very little, if any, wobble. Just checking side to side, front, back, up, down. I don't really feel any kind of wobble in that. Should be nice and solid. We'll go ahead and flip it over, give it another test on the bed. Okay. Now, oh yeah, that's way better. And just testing for smoothness. The belt is in exactly aligned position now. Was askew previously. I had to move this over to line that up. This could be moved over just a little bit, up and over. Well, that's a little too far. Dead on. All right. Might actually be a little too tight, but we'll see in just a few moments. Only way to know is to get the bed on and give it a shot. So we'll pull this all the way forward. We will grab our springs and our bed and the rest of our accessories. Let's rotate this just a bit and bring that on in through the gantry. Try not to knock those leveling wheels off. There's already a spring that came free. There's another spring. Alright, so the fourth spring is on there already next to my 3D printed strain relief down here. Set these aside for a moment. Just getting the screw through the hole on the strain relief popped out, probably due to the spring there. All right, so that's through and springy. So I'm going to go ahead and set that in the hole in the bed. And gently put the wheel on just a little bit. Leveling wheel here. If you put it on all the way the first time, then you'll tighten it down and you won't be able to get the other screws through the holes in the bed here. Just trying to do this by feel. I think I found where that goes in. Just give it a few turns. Alright, and then I'll gently put the rest of the bolts through the holes in the bed. It goes lined up. There goes 1, 2, and 3. Alright. Oh, I'm a dummy. I gotta put the springs in first. So spring and hole and wheel. Again, I'm just putting these wheels on barely, just so it holds in. And spring and hole and wheel. This whole bed leveling apparatus on most of these open source 3D printers is ridiculous. I really can't wait until I can get an automatic bed leveling system. I do know that you can install those on these types of printers, but it's a giant pain in the neck. I'm not sure whether or not I will go and do that. Let's see here. Loosen these back down just enough so I can get the spring in place. Last one's always super annoying. Actually, I might have to take one or both of these off completely. Hard to get the springs between the plate and the bed without actually having the wheels in place. But I managed to line it all up. Alright, so there's wheel. Wheel. Try to get this in by feel. There we go. Alright, now I need to pull these almost all the way down so the springs are compressed. I need to get the bed below the Z end stop here, because that's where the hot end is going to stop more or less. So get these nice and compressed. Not all the way, mind you, just enough so we have plenty of play so we can level this thing in a minute. Okay, that's about as far as that goes. And from here, let's see, what's the best way to accomplish this? Ooh, I managed to pit my surface here. Just noticing that now, probably with the spatula, trying to get prints off the bed. tight, but it's very, very rigid and smooth. Alright, so what's next? Next, let's go ahead and plug this thing in, get it leveled, and get a test print done. First, I don't have a proper power cable. Oops, sorry about that. Nudge the tripod a moment. Best way to grab that real quick. Slide back. Whoa. Got plenty of PC power cables. This in, plug, actually switch this off. I have a separate power plug that controls both the Raspberry Pi and the printer where this thing normally lives. Okay, power it up. And I'll slide this back so you can see that there. Okay, Cpgeek's Ender 3 ready. Alright, so we want to prepare. I'm going to move the Z-axis up just a little bit. And then we're going to preheat. Prepare. Preheat for PLA. Both the hot end and the bed, and that sets it for 200 degrees Celsius on the hot end and 60 degrees Celsius for the bed, so to get that nice and warm. Meanwhile, I'm just going to reach down here for my handy dandy copy paper, this time pink. I don't know why my wife chose to get pink copy paper, but okay. And meanwhile, while we're waiting for that to heat up, have a swig of Mountain Dew here. Totally not sponsored, although if you know anybody at Pepsi who wants to sponsor me, feel free to reach out. .49 degrees in the bed. 10 more degrees and it should be nice and warm. .52. Hot end is just coming up to temperature now, 195. 54 on the bed. 55. Just coming over to chat from Bela Rose. I'm basically trying to fix my 3D printer. One of the bed wheels has been eaten away due to over tightening, as I've shown previously. Bring that right up to the camera. That was causing the bed to stop mid ride. So if I were to slide this back and forth, it would just sort of stop and then continue, and that could possibly cause undue wear on the motors here, as well as I was noticing problems getting a nice first layer going on my prints, just because it would pop in and out of place in the middle of the bed action. So I had to go ahead and replace one of my wheels. And while I was at it, sort of tighten things down and gonna re-level and see how things work. The leveling portion is usually a pretty big pain. I'll definitely cover that in just a moment because that's going to be the next step. In fact, the printer is now up to temp, so I can go ahead and get it leveled. So I'm going to put that on there. Get rid of that errant filament. Get rid of this errant filament. And go ahead and prepare. And first I'm going to auto home so it knows where 0 is. And hopefully not crater this. I'm pretty sure it should be low enough. So the hot end is coming down. I'm actually going to lower the camera just a bit. Switch over to the main so it's not jarring. And lower the camera. And swing it around just slightly. Lower still. One moment, please. Bear with me. Just lowering the height of the B cam here. Okay. Up. Okay. All right. Still doesn't quite get it. All right, I'm gonna have to take matters into my own hands. Okay, bring my tablet back in so I can control things. And so there's the B-cam. Right now, the paper completely passes right under the hot end with no resistance whatsoever. So what we want to do is go ahead and take the 4 points here of measure. Right now I'm just telling my printer to go ahead and go into leveling mode. It's a helpful mode that basically chooses 5 equidistant points on the bed so that they're all trammed to the hot end here. Again, passes right underneath the hot end, no resistance. So what we want to do is come on down here, grab the leveling knobs, and make the bed come up until there is just a bit of resistance. The paper is about 1 millimeter, and we want a 1 millimeter distance between the nozzle and the bed, which means as soon as we get resistance, we know we're at about 1 millimeter. And turn on a light here. There we go. That leveling knob. Never tried to do this one-handed before, but that's okay. First time for everything. Okay, now as I pull on the paper here, you'll note that I have too much resistance, so I need to go back the other way with the knob. And this is also going to happen a few times, so this is the first pass. I'm definitely not going to get right, because when I raise the other portions of the bed, it'll cause this to go out of whack, etc. So they all need to be leveled a couple of times here. Okay, too much resistance. Not enough resistance. Right around where this should be. And just the barest little bit of resistance there. That's probably where we should be. So we'll just hit the next point button. So on the screen here, . press the enter key here, and it goes to the next point, which is over here. And again, the bed is too far from the hot end. There's no resistance whatsoever, so we're just going to go ahead and raise this up some, keeping the paper underneath that that hot end. Light turned off. I'm not certain why that happened. Sorry about the shaky cam. Still no resistance, and too much resistance, so let's back off just a little bit at a time. Maybe we're talking like just tiny turns like that, because we're talking about tenths of millimeters here. Hundredths of millimeters, actually. Alright, so that's a nice little tiny bit of resistance. And we're going to come back to the screen here and go next point. And it's going to take us to the back point. I'm just holding the paper here right under the hot end, same thing as last time. And of course, there's not going to be any resistance at all. So underneath, we'll grab our wheel here and start wrenching in the up direction. Still no resistance. Way too much resistance. Paper doesn't move at all, so let's go ahead and move in the other direction. Still too much resistance. Still too much resistance. Sometimes the hot end has a little bit of material on the end of it, which causes problems during the leveling process because it'll stick to the page. I don't think that's the case here though. There's now no resistance, and I went too much in the wrong direction. Alright, so let's just keep going back and forth until we find a good, happy little bit of resistance. That's actually just like a hundredth of a millimeter too much. Alright, next point. Okay. Now, because this is the point at which the strain relief that I printed is on, this is actually already too much resistance. I did not lower this part of the bed enough. So I'm actually going to have to lower this just a bit more. There we go. And raise it up just a bit now that I have my point of no resistance. Too much. Still a little too much. I'm moving in the wrong direction. Yep. That's about right. Now, fifth point is always in the middle of the bed, just to make sure that things are level, and this probably won't be. Yeah, this is way too tight. But we're not going to change anything quite yet on the middle part. We're going to go around one more time as that should correct the issues that we were having. Yeah, this is way too tight because the rest of the bed was raised. So we're going to go ahead and re-level all of the screws. This is a finer, more precise movement here this time around. Perfect. Now, once we get all of these corners aligned, the middle should be exactly the same as the rest of them. Just a little too much resistance. Perfect. These might even be proper. It's a little too much. Back that off just a little bit. One more time. I'm going like 1 degree on these knobs here. It's really fine movement. Still a little too much. Not quite enough, like 1 degree. Perfect. Actually, maybe a little bit more in the other direction. There we go. And that's actually good there. So now when we go back in the middle, things should be, it's actually a little low. Not quite enough resistance. So I'm going to go ahead and cycle through them one more time. So put a little bit more resistance on this. That feels a little better. There we go. This is all very precise fiddly work. It actually feels pretty good. That feels good too. Let's try the middle one more time. And that's right around what I expect. Alright, so now that that's all set, we'll go back to main cam so I can put this back on the tripod. We'll move this back into place where it's going to live and do a test print. So there I am. Go ahead and put this back up here for a few minutes. Wow, that's warm. Okay, so that's all set there. Back. And I'm just going to go ahead and raise the gantry a little bit. Prepare, move axis, Z axis. We're going to move that up 100 millimeters. I believe that's roughly 1/3 of the way. we go. Cool. And we'll go ahead and switch this off. And go ahead and unplug. Because we won't be using this cord here. I'll wait for things to cool off for a couple of seconds before I go ahead and move that. And while I wait for that to cool down, I'm just going to take a quick break. So please excuse me for a moment. I will be back as soon as I've waited for this to cool down properly so I can move it. And we are back. Let's see here. So as you can see from the extruded 3D printing filament mess, this is where the printer normally lives. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back. I'm just going to go ahead and, oops, sorry, blocking the camera here. I know this production quality is pretty terrible. Please bear with me for an extra couple of seconds here. Just moving the cables around so things will fit where they go. Don't have to worry about things. All right, so there's that. And I'm just gonna pick the printer here. Watch the camera. Okay. And slide this right back where it goes. Making sure that the power supply is set, just like it belongs there. All right, so let me get to the other side of the camera. All right, so I'll go ahead and plug in the mains power here. See my beard getting in the way. There we go. It's power plugged in, and then this cable here goes to the Raspberry Pi that I just plugged in, and that will control the printer. It's responsible for the models and getting the information into the printer to print. And now with this button, light things up a little bit and switch this guy on. Used to the printer coming on when I hit that button. Switch is usually on. All right, so we are back up, and let's go ahead and prepare. We want to preheat for PLA. Preheat for PLA. So that'll start the bed and the hot end heating again, just like we had before. It's like the printer just up and rebooted on us. All right, so prepare and prepare for PLA and prepare preheat for PLA. Okay, sets that going again. Then prepare, move axis. I did not do this test previously. I should have. I'm just going to go ahead and move the bed back and forth a little bit at a time to its extents. Oop, clearly too far. So I'm going to go ahead and auto home. It wasn't homed before I tried that, so it didn't know exactly where it was. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that none of these cables are going to get caught when it starts printing. That's good. Bring that forward just a little bit. All right, so now that that's happened, prepare, move axis Y, move 10 millimeters. All right, I can't move any more that direction, so I'm just going to go ahead and whip it in this direction. Now I see that there's some cable hanging, so I'm just going to pull that up and stick that behind the extrusion knob without blocking it. And also without rubbing on the Z-screw, because that wouldn't be good either. Well, that's about as good as it gets. Looks very smooth to me. All right. Let's go back to the main screen here. Looks like we're at 60 on the bed and 200 on the hot end, which is exactly where we want to be. And I will go ahead and have a seat back at the computer. Hello, hello. now that I am at the computer again. I'm going to bring up the Octoprint software so I can find a model for us to test print. So I'm going to go ahead to my Octoprint webpage. And from there, we'll go ahead and show you desktop and camera so you can follow along. So this is Octoprint, which is a really, really cool 3D printing software that runs on a Raspberry Pi, a $35 little computer, plugs right into the printer. This is super, super easy to set up. And you can pair it with Cura, which is the 3D slicer of choice for most of these 3D printers. It's what Creality wants you to use with this particular printer. Although there's a bunch of different slicing softwares that work really well too. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and print. How long does a benchy take? Print time, prox print time, an hour. All right, so I don't want to wait an hour. Is there something smaller that I can print that will be good? These are just previous prints that I've done. Butter Robot, Infinity Cube. You know what? The Infinity Cube is incredibly challenging. I'm going to go ahead and try to print that first. So over here on the temperature page, gives you a nice graph. It's currently connected to the printer, so it knows what the temperature is. So we're currently at 259, and so 200 degrees on the tool, and 60 degrees on the bed, which is exactly where we want to be for PLA. So let's see. How long does an Infinity Cube take? An hour? I think we can actually do better than an hour. Let's go ahead and do that. So if I hit print, it's starting pretty much immediately. Go ahead and switch cameras here. So first it does a wipe of filament. And then it'll try to go ahead and do its print. And we should see pretty quickly whether or not filament is sticking to the bed and what the first layer situation is like. That'll tell us a lot about how this print is going to go and if it's actually going to complete. Now, I apologize because I can tell right away that I don't know what's going on in this particular print job from this camera angle. I'm just going to take a look at the printer here and see how things are coming out. This filament is also not helpful in this case because basically it doesn't give you an idea about where it is. Alright, I can already tell that this is peeling up, so we're really close, but we definitely didn't hit it in terms of the bed leveling, so we'll have to go back over that and see how that turns out. So I go back over here to the software, and we're going to go ahead and cancel the print and say yes. And then for control, we're going to raise Z by 30 millimeters. I just clicked on that up 3 times and it's highlighted for 10. So it's going on up. Oop, this one. So as you see, or maybe not, there's kind of some garbage printed there. There we go. Sorry about all the jiggling. I'm gonna lift this camera one more time, bring it in. So this is what actually ended up printing, which is not a very good first layer at all. In fact, the steppers are unlocked, so I'm just going to pull the bed forward, and it's a neat little pile here. Now, there is things to be learned from this situation. You'll note that this actually stuck pretty well, although it's a little low, and over here we didn't get this stuck at all, which means that it's probably a little high. So I'm going to go ahead and rearrange this and re-level just a little bit. I won't subject you to that, but I will be back in just a few moments once I've went ahead and done some re-leveling, and we'll then see how that turns out. So please bear with me for a couple of minutes. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can tweak this just a little bit. As I said, it's really fine work. It's always a pain in the neck to try to get this right, and really printing is the only way to really dial things in. So we'll see what I can do, and we'll be back in a minute. Alright, so I gave it a tweak or two. Let's go ahead and try this one more time. And if this doesn't work, I'm going to print something that has a brim, which will draw lines around the object and allow me to get a little bit better of a feel for how things are currently leveled and level by eye a little bit. So we'll see how this goes here. So I'll start the same print again, and as far as temperature goes, as soon as I cancel a print, it stops both the bed as well as the tool from being hot. It basically cuts the power to both of those things. So here it's trying to heat them up, 57 and 45. So we still have a minute or so. Things cool off a lot quicker than they heat up. So please bear with me here, and we'll go ahead and get cracking. Oh, forgot to restart that camera. That's better. let's see here. And I'm just going to have a look at that. Just touching it to see how things lie. So it's a little bit better, but I don't think it's 100%. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this again. And then lift Z by 30 again. All right. Well, let's check it out. So as you see here, still not quite right. The front is way too high. Too much squish. In the back, this just kind of bubbles up some for some reason. So I'm pretty sure that we're a little too low all the way around. So this freeze frame basically tells you a lot here. So this is basically squishing just way too much toward the bottom portion, which is the front, and in the back the same. It's just way too low all the way around, and it's causing the filament to basically just be pressed down too much, and that causes it to A, stick too much, and B, not be dimensionally accurate. You only need about 0.3 millimeter squish, so 1/3 squish, just a nice bead, and this is just a little too low on all accounts. So I'm going to go ahead and run the leveling routine one more time, and basically see what I can do about making this print a little bit better. So once again, please bear with me, and I will be back in just a moment. Alright, we are back and ready to try yet another test print. Should be up to temperature from the leveling process. Yep, we'll go ahead and rehome X, Y, and Z. Switch on over to the printer. Turn the camera back on. And start that print. Take a look. Get that out of there. I'm not quite certain how this is going to do. It's a little bit better than before, I think. Alright, that's where I stopped it before, so I'll go ahead and stop it here and just take a look at that first layer. Alright, so let's go ahead and Z up 3 clicks. Raises the gantry so I can pull the bed out without destroying anything. Pause this so I can move it on in. Pull the bed out a little bit. And turn the camera back on. So this is where we're at. So this front piece is not connected at all, so it's printing way too low. This is more or less a little too high. This corner is getting too low. And that's actually a pretty good bead around there. I'm not certain what happened in that corner. This is one of the most frustrating parts of 3D printing. So once again, I will be right back, do a little bit more tweaking, and we'll see how things work. All right. Let's see here now. Okay, so we're up to temp. You know what? This time around, I'm going to try to level this live. And by that, I mean adjust the wheels while the printer is in operation to get the final bits going. So for this, I'm going to load up Cura, which is the slicer application that makes these G-code files. And I'm going to print an object that has a really large brim. So it'll print all the way around. Not brim. What's the other bed adhesion method? Let me take a quick look here. Adhesion skirt. That's what it is. Not a brim, a skirt. All right, so let's find a benchy. Just gonna go ahead and bounce over the cameras here. Let's see, 3dbenchy.stl. Drop that in. So we've got our little benchy boat. And what we want to do is make sure that we have a skirt. And then I'm going to get additional properties of that bed adhesion and make it a really, really big skirt. So skirt line count, that's the control I want. And by default, it creates 3-line skirt, which is not nearly enough. I want to create a 20-line skirt. And it's gonna error out and have a problem with that, but it's probably still gonna let me slice it anyway. Just gonna go ahead and make that a little smaller. Oop. Yeah. Come on. Why is it giving me problems? There we are. Get rid of that, slice it. Now if we preview, you'll note that our little benchy boat has a whole bunch of lines around it, which is exactly what we want in order to get a nice even level. I'm actually going to make this benchy double its normal size. Let's go back to the prepare screen. I want to scale. I want to scale to 200% across the board. Make that a really big benchy. I'm not actually going to print the benchy. I'm just going to print the skirt. And that's basically going to help me level out the bed. So I'm going to slice that again. That benchy takes up about 2/3 of the build volume. We're going to preview so we can see where our skirt lines are. And as you see, that takes up quite a big portion of the bed. And we'll be able to see exactly what corners have what problems, high or low, and adjust those away. Or at least that's the idea. We'll see in practice. So I can go ahead and hit print with Octoprint, and it'll go ahead and send this sliced benchy over to the printer via the Raspberry Pi. So print with Octoprint. You'll notice that this file will change as soon as the 3D printer gets it, and it should begin printing right away. and I'm going to have to stand in front of the camera in order to make this happen. So I apologize, you won't get to watch this go, but I will show you what the output looks like as soon as I have some confirmation of adhesion. So right now we're just waiting for Octoprint to complete the analysis of the G-code, so it can tell me how long it'll print. So here we go. It's got the benchy, and it's telling me it will take 8 hours to print this ginormous benchy, but we're not going to print that. I'm going to stop it before it reaches that point. I just want that first layer skirt, which will only take a minute or two in order to print. So it's actually increasing temp a little bit. I guess I have a higher temp set in the slicer, not a problem. I think this filament likes a little bit higher temperature anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead and roll with that. Please stand by, as I'm going to be right in the way of everything, and be right back. Okay, so after some leveling, I managed to get what I think should be a pretty good first layer. I will show you that in just a couple of seconds here. I'll go ahead and switch back to the camera. All right. So as you see, it's printing currently, and try to zoom in here. That's about as good as you can possibly expect out of a few first lines there. Now, this represents a couple of lines. That's why it's a little wider. Usually, if that were just a single first line, I would say that this is printing a little too low, but that's not actually the case in this case. So, let's go ahead and switch back over to the desktop view. Go ahead and cancel this print. Yep. And go back to Control and raise Z up 30 again, just as we did before. So I can remove the material from the bed and start another print. I'm going to try to give the cube another go, but I want to reslice it. I know that this slice works technically because I have made this cube before. In fact, let me show you what that looks like. Just a second. So this is the infinity cube that we were trying to print. Clearly this is a different filament material, black instead of the blue stuff. The filament that we currently have loaded does require a little bit more heat, and what I'm going to do when I reslice is go ahead and make the first layer quite a bit slower. Which I did with the leveling layer as well. It's always good to start out with a slow first layer. It does take some time, but at least you know if there are any problems with the print before it starts going too far. That good foundation will definitely help out in the end, and you can increase the speed of the print as you go up for the first couple of additional layers. That usually works quite well. So I am going to go ahead and go back to desktop. Actually, you know what? Let's go back to that camera shot real quick. Just to point out the well, first it's out of focus, but in the back you can see one of those first lines. It goes from the inside out. When it creates this kind of view, or when it creates this kind of skirt. So the inside didn't adhere, and you can see that first line there. I went ahead and lowered the bed, or raised the bed just a little bit in order to bring the nozzle a little bit closer, and the rest of those lines turned out just fine in that case. So let's go ahead and find the original model. I'm pretty sure that I still have the infinity cube. Infinity cube. All right. So let's go ahead and pop open Files, Infinity Cube, drop it on my desktop. Takes a few seconds. And we'll drop that in Cura. Get rid of the benchy, import the infinity cube. Oh, that's actually a different model entirely from what I thought it was. I have printed this model as well, but this is not the model that I thought it was. Let's see, let's go back and I've got a few cubes here. I'm just trying to find the right one. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Let's try this one, cube edge. While that's a cool shape, it's not one that I wanted right now. Hypercube, that's what it's called. Four-dimensional object. And there's the STL. Drop that on my desktop. Okay, that is a very, very small print. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. It's a 7mm cube. So I'm just going to go with 300%. How long does it estimate that it'll take to print that? 55 minutes. Let's take a look at our slicer settings for a moment. Alright, so we don't want supports. This particular cube does print without supports, so that should cut down time dramatically. 36 minutes. Okay. So we do not want this skirt. We want a simple 3-line skirt. And how long will that take? 31 minutes. Okay, and we just want that first layer to be slow. All right, so print speed is at 100. That should be fine. Wall speed, initial layer speed, I have that down to 10mm. Even that's pretty darn slow. That's what I was leveling at. So I'm gonna try for a decent clip here. Let's double that, 20mm, and that's just the initial layer, the the first layer there. So 31 minutes. You know what? I'm gonna go with a 200% cube. How long will that print? 13 minutes. That's in the golden zone that I would expect it. check. Sorry about that. I'm not quite certain how long I was without volume. My A camera, which is where the microphone is plugged in, sort of stopped responding. That's never good. So here we are back to the printer. I had set it up so that I sliced a small hypercube, and hopefully we have enough dimensional accuracy with the leveling that I've done here to make that happen. I did print with a small skirt. Just to check out where we were at. So printing my initial layer at 20 millimeters per second, pretty slow, should be just fine. 220 is where I find that this particular material prints best. And we have a 3-line skirt going on here. So I'm just going to go ahead and zoom into this figure here. So it's pretty small overall. And let's go ahead to the G-code viewer. So that's what it should be printing. And let's go back to the camera. And it's starting its initial wipe. And I just want to get a quick look at how this first line is coming out. It actually looks pretty good. So we'll let that go and see how that comes out. Sorry for how grainy that is. Should still give you a pretty decent idea of what's going on. And I'm just going to go ahead and take a quick break while this prints, and go ahead and disable my my face cam here, and just let the regular printer camera go. And I think we're back. Just testing right now. Okay. It appears that there may be a bug in the latest version of Cura and some compatibility problem with my computer. It just randomly rebooted while I was doing the middle of the stream here. As you see, the printer is still doing as it should. The cube is still printing, and I'll definitely get you a closer look at that when that's all done, which should be pretty soon now. Let me pull up Octoprint, which doesn't seem to want to let me log in. Just loading right now. All right. So there's Octoprint, and it should be loading the G code. Yep. So we're currently at layer number 50 out of 71. So yeah, it's almost done. It's doing its thing. So I'll let you guys watch it print. And again, I was taking a break, but when I said take a break, I didn't mean for the computer to up and restart and mess with the stream. But we are back. I apologize for the problem, and hopefully that won't be happening again. I will not be leaving Kira up while I stream. That's it's an interesting problem. I'll be investigating that in a little bit. Anyhow, here's the print again, and you can see how that's going. And I will go ahead and let's see. I'll take a break while you watch things print. All right, so it looks like our cube printed, and because of how fine everything is and the size of the cube, this is a really good test for dimensional accuracy. You can really see any stringing problems, any issues with the center of the bed, which, because it's leveled on all four corners, is sort of the problematic point. We did do a nice leveling test with Big Skirt, which was very helpful. So that gave us a good indication of good first layer. But now this is a good test of overall dimensionality. So let me go ahead and pull this off the bed real quick here. Okay, that was real good, as all I had to do was pull a little bit, which means that the first layer was really good. So let me go to ACAM here. Come on, focus, focus. Okay. So there we go. That's nice and focused. So you can see that there's some very minor stringing, but that's a completely acceptable print. It's not 100% perfect. You can see that there's a, oh, come on, refocus. It grabbed my face. Maybe if I put this in front of my face. Focus. Anyhow, just trying to get this in focus. Is there a better way to do this? How about this battery box? This is a very fine model. Doesn't appear to want to. How about glue? Do you like to focus on glue? There we go. It's a little bit better. Just trying to get them on the same plane. So you can see there's a little bit of stringing on the inside. No, this is not an advertisement. I'm just trying to get my camera to cooperate. But despite how fine it is, and there is a little piece of over extrusion just right on the end, which I'm attempting to pull off. Yep, there we go. There is one little line in the middle that didn't quite stick. But overall, I'm pretty pleased. I think that my next print is going to be something that's a little bit more challenging for the printer. Just because I have a decent amount of dimensional accuracy and things are looking good as far as temperature. Things are actually behaving themselves. Let's see. Things that actually came out that I might want another one of. Baby Yoda is always good. hot shoe adapter. Com badge, what did that look like? Ah, it was a Star Trek Discovery com badge. One of the fancy black ones from Section 31. Those are neat, but I don't want to print one of those right now. Base. I don't recall what that's for. Let's see, spring tensioners. How about a little rhino? How long does this take? Let's see, uploaded a year ago on the Ender 3, so this is for this machine. Estimated total print time, 39 minutes. You know what? I think I'm going to go for it. However, I think I'm going to call this here. This test print was really good once I got the leveling dialed in, which is always the ginormous pain in the butt when working with this particular 3D printer and most open source 3D printers at large. The leveling is just so fiddly, and if you bump one of the levers, you basically have to, or the knobs, you have to do it all over again. I'm really looking forward to getting a auto bed leveling printer, which will likely be happening this summer. I have a CR6SE, which is a Kickstarter project. I went ahead and backed it, and one of those should be arriving at some point this summer. It's already funded, so it's definitely going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Creality is a very well-known brand. In fact, the printer that I was working with today is made by them. So I really doubt that there will be any distribution problems and whatnot. These do come from overseas. It's a Hong Kong company. Most of these printers are made in China and then sent slow boat over here, so it may take quite a while for me to receive. But at least I won't have to go through this whole bed leveling fiasco every time I change something on the printer. But as a recap, we successfully changed out the bad wheel. This really chewed up, it's not going to focus, chewed up bearing wheel here from the bed. It's now operating pretty smoothly. It's still pretty tight. I don't think that I will loosen it right now, and I'm going to see if the wheels start getting eaten up again. If they do, I will go ahead and put one of my other 9 remaining wheels on there, and then at that point I will go ahead and loosen things up. But given the dimensional accuracy I'm receiving with the Hypercube here, I don't see really any reason why this won't work going forward, at least until it needs leveling again. Anyhow, I will call this here. This has been a pretty long stream so far. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this kind of content, please click that like button. And if you don't, well, I guess the other button works too. If you like this enough or you'd like to contribute, please go ahead and click the tips link in the description. That is basically just a PayPal link, so I can basically continue doing these sorts of videos and others. Check me out. Cpgeek.org is where you'll find a lot of my stuff. I haven't written too much, but there's links to Discord, which you can connect with me if you like. I'm always available on Discord. There's a link to Twitch, where I play video games. You might see some highlights here on YouTube every so often, but I do try to game at least maybe once a week or so on Twitch. Games are all over the place. I do enjoy VR, so you might find some of those live streams over on Twitch. I enjoy retro games, so I was playing some Supreme Commander, for example, Supreme Commander 2 the other night, so that was fun. That's a game that came out in like 2010, so a little older. Even retro games as far back as the Nintendo, Sega, even some Apple II games every so often. I like a lot of different games from a lot of different genres, so if you're interested in watching me play games and hanging out, please go ahead and tune into Twitch. There's a Facebook page which I post to every so often. It's just Cpgeek.org. You're more than welcome to get signed up there. There's a link at the website for that too. Follow me on Twitter. It's at Cpgeek. And if you are interested in any sort of deals on computer parts, on cameras, on 3D printing gear, sometimes on video game controllers and other sorts of PC and gaming peripherals, I do a Twitter called Cpgeek Deals, just at Cpgeek Deals, where I find deals all over the place, stuff on discounts, and I always have something good up there that's worth having a look. Most discounts range anywhere between, say, 10 and I've even seen some stuff as much as 65 to 70% off. So if you follow me there, you can get a chance to get some stuff real cheap. Good quality stuff too, high quality cameras and various computer components. Check it out if you're interested. Otherwise, I have been Josh, also known as CP Geek, and have a great night.